Hello and welcome to January 28th, which is my brother's birthday, so happy birthday, brother, as well as our reading of Exodus 10, 11, and 12, and so let's go ahead and jump right into those. These chapters cover the last three plagues on Egypt, as well as the introduction of the Passover, which is an important facet of Hebrew culture from the Old Testament, from these days, all the way through the New Testament, and even to today. Passover is still very relevant. And so God establishes that there. You get to read a little bit of what goes on in that. You also get to read as God finishes out his punishment of Pharaoh for his stubbornness, for Pharaoh's abuse of power over Israel, and God removes Pharaoh and a lot of his army in one fell swoop. It is an interesting, very sorrowful, but interesting turn of events that changes the course of history and allows Israel to go free to become their own nation and get up to a lot of other things later on as well. If you're interested in a more thorough breakdown, when you get into chapter 10, what we're talking about is plagues number 8 and 9, rather, both of them, the locusts and then the darkness. God visits wrath upon Egypt, again, slowly ramping up, getting more and more extreme. Darkness for 3 days over the land of Egypt. Nobody can see anything. But even so, Pharaoh refuses to repent. And so, unfortunately, we have to come to chapter 11, in which God, he speaks to Moses and he says, go and make clear to Pharaoh what's going to happen. I'm going to come through and kill all of the firstborn sons of Egypt unless Pharaoh repents, unless Pharaoh lets this people go. And Pharaoh, as stubborn as he is, allows those things to happen. And so in chapter 12, we get to see God introducing the idea of the Passover, what the sacrifice is for, what that feast is, and what it commemorates. It ends up becoming the Israelites' New Year celebration. And so they celebrate Passover. It's very important to them, even on the very same night that God passes over Egypt and removes the firstborn sons from all of those houses. God lets his people go, frees his people at a great cost, at a great expense of Egyptian life. But Egypt had already taken a great toll on Israel's life. And so justice is done, and Israel is released out into the wilderness, where they're going to be wandering for quite a while until they actually run into the Red Sea. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. If you're interested in a more thorough breakdown of some of the concepts that are there, then head over to the written page. There's some information there. And if not, if that is not of interest to you, then thank you for listening here. And I'll see you tomorrow for January 29th, where we're reading Exodus 13 through 15.